Greetings, fam. It's Dr. O, and like many of you are, I've been looking at so much that's been going on in Israel and Gaza and the like. And I've been out there pretty vocal about the condemnation of this terrorist act by Hamas. There's no question about it. I believe that people who are out there who have this mindset of Israel is totally responsible for this or that. I don't believe that. I'm not of the mindset that other people can make you commit acts like that, commit acts of kidnapping or commit acts of rape or things like that. This idea of you made me do it or they led me to this. I just don't believe that. And in the same light, I don't believe that people can say that they're making us commit genocide. They're making us, bomb the hell out of people. I don't believe that as well. And so I believe that two things can be true. I think that there's a lot of conversations that need to be had about the role that I don't believe that Netanyahu is the leader that Israel needs right now. I believe that Netanyahu is on the extreme side of things. I believe that he's never, if you read and listen to scholars and activists, never wanted a Palestinian state. He's aligned himself with people who want Palestinians to be extinguished and not have that land. But of course, again, that does not justify what happened on October 7th. It just doesn't. And anybody who's out there, you could be as angry about Israel as you want. You could be as mad at as on their policies as you want, but this is just not something that's justifiable. Having said that, I find myself also very disappointed with the way the United States has been responding on many levels, but I'm someone who pays attention to vocabulary. And I saw when Biden came back from Israel and he was asked on the tarmac if he thought that Israel was committing any type of war crimes or violations of rules of war. And he walked away. A couple of days later, after two hostages got free, Antony Blinken was asked the same question, and he defaulted to the same position that many people default to who are part of the United States government, and that is Israel has the right to defend itself. And the more and more I hear that, it just makes me keep thinking of those 5 words that we hear in the United States all of the time. I feared for my life. I feared for my life. And that's a phrase that is often used to help officers and, quite frankly, non-officers like a George Zimmerman type who instigated the fight with Trayvon Martin, but that's a story for another day. And they use that phrase to get off. And they basically use that phrase to say that anything that they did was justified because they feared for their life. And it could be shooting somebody who's unarmed. They could be shooting somebody 20 times, 30 times, 50 times, 60 times because people feared for their life. And if I'm not going to accept that now in these cases here in the States, I can't accept that for a government. And it's a failure of the United States, who in the United Nations did not vote for a ceasefire, to say that Israel has the right to defend itself. Yes, it does, but it does not have the right to commit genocide. It does not have the right to commit what's going to end up being another land grab. And I do believe that the United States government is working behind the scenes with the Israeli government to talk about what needs to be done to keep Palestinians safe. But if verbally outside, you're not going to speak that out in public and condemn some of these actions that Israel has engaged in, whether they, people can, I don't believe that they bombed the hospital, but a couple of days ago, they did hit the hospital. Journalists have been killed, through Israeli strikes. Human rights lawyers' homes have been destroyed. Over 2,000 kids have been killed. And to be quite honest, I've always known and always saw that the Israeli government looks at an Israeli life as worth 1,000 Palestinian lives, which is why you saw about 1,000 hostages or prisoners freed from Israel for one Israeli hostage. Or one, so I think at the end of the day, I believe it was Clymer. I saw this online. Excuse me, sister, for forgetting your name at this moment. She said, I don't need Palestinians to be all, something to the effect of be all pro LGBTQ, because she's part of the LGBTQ community, in order for me to say that they deserve human rights. You know what I mean? Like, we're in this tit for tat thing where people are saying, well, you don't believe this, so I'm not going to support you. You don't support this, so I'm not going to support you. We need to get to fundamental basic human rights. Why would I sit here, somebody who's been a supporter of Palestinian land and Palestinian and a two-state solution forever, why would I sit here and say, well, because I believe in that, I don't care what happens to Israelis? No, that's just not how we can be. That's just not how it can be. And as I mentioned in another video, as much as I condemned what Rwanda was doing in the Congo, I never for once wished evil on the citizens of Rwanda or Uganda back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So look, Biden, you're failing right now. You're failing right now. To be quite honest, you're going to lose political support in the United States if you don't get this together. Because the fact of the matter is, black people, in many ways throughout history in the United States, have worked with the Jewish community, NAACP and the like. You look at the civil rights movement, as well as with Palestinians in the United States. But on many levels, the support and unity that the black people in the United States have had with Jewish people on many issues in our society, it doesn't always translate into support for what the government of Israel is doing. And so, Biden, you stand to lose a lot of support from the African-American community. I've seen people from the African-American community as well who have already been talking about frustration because they just feel like they're getting fed lip service as it relates to what you're doing. And if you want to show to the world that you're embracing somebody like a Netanyahu doesn't have the same values as you do. Netanyahu is closer to Trump as it relates to mindset and mentality. So you have to realize that you're showing these actions to the world. It doesn't matter what you do behind the scenes. If Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield is going to be in the United Nations and not show support for a ceasefire, if you're going to talk about Israel has the right to defend itself and then have billions of dollars go to Israel, but a few million go to Palestine, in Gaza, we have like 12 trucks there when they literally need hundreds now, and literally watch as acts of genocide are being committed. Members of the Israeli government on record saying what they want to do to raise the territory, to get people out there and don't care about their slaughter. They're on record saying that. Is this really what you want to be a part of? Saying has the right to defend itself and that being your standard line? That's not enough. That's not good enough to see the actions that are happening. And we all know that the United States is the only country that really has the power and sway to get Israel to change its actions. And so whenever I'm watching these stories of hostages being released, I'm watching videos of when they got captured, and my heart is still sinking. And my heart is still sinking for what's happening to Israeli citizens and other people who were also kidnapped and hostage. But you can't go and commit genocide in their name. And lastly, we have to be mindful of that you can't bomb an idea away, as I said in my song, Gazriel. What you're doing now is the biggest recruitment tool for a terrorist organization in Hamas. And we can go into conversations about how Netanyahu wanted Hamas to kind of grow and so on and so forth, kind of needed that type of enemy. And we can go into that in a whole nother day. But the fact of the matter is, this is not going to hurt Hamas. This is going to help Hamas. People watching their families getting bombed in a minute, 1 second there, and they're gone. Kids waking up crying every day, seeing pictures of mothers, holding their babies, similar to what's happening with some Israeli citizens as well. This is not going to make Hamas weaker. This is going to make people say, this is what we're doing. You say, go from the north to the south, and then I go to the south, and y'all were bombing there as well. And then when I go home, and I got to find my family gone. This is not diplomacy. This is slaughter. This is extinction of the highest order. And we can't stand by and idly watch this. And so if you can't condemn that because of this reason or that reason, then the problem is with you. The problem is with you. And so I'm going to be the person out there with everybody else who's calling for peace, who's calling for solidarity, who's calling for ceasefire. And we have to, United States, we have to get rid of this standard line of just Israel just has its right to defend itself, full stop, and then just call it a day and say there's no daylight between us and Israel. There has to be some daylight between what you're watching them do right now. And I believe that a lot of people in the United States who are upset with you, Biden, they're not going to go out there and vote for Trump, but they're just going to stay home. And you know that these are margins you can't afford to lose right now. So I hope you get your act together. I hope you do more to publicly condemn what's happening in Gaza right now. A lot of people have given up hope that you're not going to do it. But this mindset of I feared for my life versus, Israel has the right to defend itself, this is not the way we need to go in either instance. And all of y'all who are out there chanting Black Lives Matter and all of that, Palestinians' lives matter as well. And it's interesting, it's sad and hard trying to talk about, Israel versus Gaza because we're talking about a nation versus a non-nation. We can't even get to the standing point of two nations speaking because these people are still treated like second-class citizens. And I've heard stories from people who are married, Israelis who are married to Palestinians, who talk about how they can go see their family in Israel, but the father can't because he's Palestinian, and they're raising their children, watching their father, being raised as a second-class citizen. We have to do better. If peace is possible, it's not going to be possible like this. Let's get out there and do more. And all of us need to play our part. It's up to you. It's up to me. It's up to we. Peace.